Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Rust session. In this one, we are going to talk about error handling. Now, error handling is a crucial aspect of writing robust software. Now, Rust approaches error handling with the philosophy of making it explicit and manageable, allowing you to write code that's resilient in the face of unexpected situations. Now, Rust groups errors into two major categories. First one, recoverable errors, and second one is unrecoverable errors. Now, just from name, you can tell what they are. Let's look at recoverable errors with the result enum. So, recoverable errors are situations in which it's reasonable to report the error to the code that called your code and give that code a chance to retry the operation. Rust uses the result enum to handle these types of errors. The result enum, how does it look like? So, let me just show you the enum result t comma e, and then if everything is all right, it's gonna call OK and pass t. If it's not all right, it's gonna send an error. So OK t, an operation is successful and the value t is returned, and if the operation fails, it gives e and the error is returned back. So that's the result. Now let's see how we can use it. So for using it, first thing, let's do for some file read operation. So I'm going to use the library, standard library files, and I'm gonna call the file element in there. So that's how you can do file operations. Now inside here, I'm gonna do first thing is let f equal to, if you see I don't have any files other than the standard default code that we've been writing. So I'm gonna say open, say hello dot text. This is the name of the file. Now there's nothing hello dot text in my code here. So what will happen if when it tries to open that file, it probably should give me an error. So what I'm gonna say is if you're trying to match and everything is okay based on the enum that you saw, so it will give me back the output properly and it will give me the file back. No problem if it's successful. If it's error, what it will do is it will call the error function and pass me back the error over there. I'm going to use panic, which we'll look at a little bit later. I just want the application to just crash. Say problem opening the file, and you can pass back the parameter of error. There you go, and it will give you a example of why the error happened. So that's what happens here. Now if I want to call this, I mean I'm already in the main, so I don't have to do anything special. Go ahead and run this application and you'll see that it will see I have something not right here. Which line is this? 16. I've opened match f. Okay, file. Oh, I have to close this. That's what it says here. That just add there, and you see what it does. It's a thread main panicked at this particular line. Problem opening file not found. No such file or directory. So what do I need to do to create that file? So let me create that file. I'll call it hello.txt and save it in hello rust folder. Save and say hello world. Yes, even though I'm not reading the file, it's fine. I'm gonna run this again, and this time there's no error. You just clear it so you can see it. So no error. It just says hello Vivinarana, which means it was successful and the file is passed to this particular parameter. Now this, as you see, this example tries to open a file and uses the match expression to handle the result. If the operation is successful, it returns the file handle. If it fails, it panics and stops the program. So that's what happens. Now how do you propagate error? If this happens in a function and you want to send it to the main function, when you're writing a function that might fail, instead of handling the error within the function, you can return the error to the calling code so that it can decide what to do with it instead of just crashing it here. This is known as propagating an error. So let's look at an example of propagating error. I'm also going to use the IO library. Say use std standard IO and gonna access from there and read properties. Read properties. So that's what I'll access from there. Here I'm gonna get rid of this and let me write it in a special separate function. I'm gonna say read, let's say username from file. That's the function that I want to call. And what will it return? It will return back to me a result object which will have a string inside it and IO error, input output error in there. Now let's do the same thing. I'm trying to access that file which I've created now. So I'm going to say file or open hello dot text. Now that file exists, that is for sure. We tested that out. Next I'm going to say let mutable f, because the value can change, match f based on this f here to this, and I'm gonna say if for OK of file I'm gonna return back file, but if there is an error where let's say e, I'm gonna return back return error with e. Now this doesn't go outside the function, it's just gonna go assign it to this particular f here. Now I'm gonna also create mutable s, says string new. I'm going to create a new string object. It's mutable, so that means I'm going to change based on what happens. So I'm saying match f dot read to string. Now if I'm reading that particular file, if I got that value, I'm going to say pass a reference variable using @sign, and I'm going to say this is what I want to, the property inside there. And if okay, I don't want to create a variable, so I'm going to just give underscore, and I'm going to say everything is okay, and pass back the s. If not, say error e, and pass back error of e. So this is what will propagate back and return back to the function that is calling. So for example, if this is the function that is calling, let's create an object to take the return parameter. Now if you see, the return will be same style, say string comma IO error. So same as what is returned back here. I'm going to create this object and call this function read from file. So this will assign back whatever comes back to this guy, and it will ask it to decide what you want to do with this. So I can say print, just going to print the value, not do anything special with it. Say this, let's put it inside comma, and then check a dot is okay. So if it's okay, I'm sorry, it's a built-in function where based on this a result I can check if is okay or is error. So it's gonna print out true or false. So let's run this and see if the value is propagated back. Clear it here, run it. So it runs through that and it says true. So everything is okay, it was fine. If that file didn't exist, it's probably gonna say false, and it would say that it's not okay. So this is how you can propagate back error. There's also a shortcut for propagating errors using the question mark operator. Rust provides like this convenient way to propagate errors up the call stack using the question mark operator, which automatically does the match operation seen in the previous example. Let's look at an example of how to use the question mark error. I'm going to keep everything same here. Even the function will be same in here. Instead of this, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna try to use this as much as possible. Let f, I'm gonna say mutable f file open, and if it can't open, question mark. What I'm gonna give here, I'm gonna use the let mutable s equal to string. Do the same thing that I did before for creating this mutable s string here. I could have just copied it, and then I can say f dot read to string pass the same stuff here and mute X question mark, and then I will say okay S. So if everything goes back, this is what is going to be returned. So this is how you can use shorthand using the question mark operator, and you don't have to use the checking matching parameter here to do checks. If there's an issue, it will call back, propagate the error back. Now there's also unrecoverable errors with which you can take care with panic. Now unrecoverable errors are serious errors that indicate your program is in a state it cannot handle. You'll usually terminate your program when an unrecoverable error occurs. So Rust has the panic, which we used before, panic macro for these situations. Let's look at panic. Let's As soon as I print here, I can say panic and say crash and burn. If I run this application, you'll see it says crash and burn right away, and it crashes the particular application, saying that that's it, nothing else. I mean, anything after this code is unreachable, because of course this is a panic, and when a panic occurs, the program prints an error message, winds and cleans up the stack, and then quits. That's what happens. So Rust error handling features help you write better, more resilient code. The result enum allows handling recoverable errors elegantly, giving you control over how to respond to errors. The question mark operator, which we saw, simplifies propagating errors up the call stack. For unrecoverable errors, Rust provides the panic macro to stop execution and start the process of terminating the program. That's what we went through this. By understanding and efficiently using these tools that we learned in this particular video, you can handle errors in Rust confidently and write robust, reliable applications that crash and sometimes don't crash. So, best of luck. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll try to answer them as soon as possible.